Yesterday's loss. That's a tough one, Jared. I'm going to take the
Yeah, that sucked.
positives out of the first 6 innings of work from Jack Leiter. I don't know. I saw some people doing Bochy questioning today. I mean, who knows? But that's a tough one. That is a tough one to blow after that. How did you feel about Leiter yesterday? And just him in
I thought
general
he
right
was,
now.
yeah, I thought he was great. I was a little surprised by the Astros' approach. I don't know why they were so aggressive early. Like if I'm facing Jack Leiter, and not that it's going to work because he is throwing more strikes this year and he's been good, but I mean the Leiter had the most first pitch outs of any pitcher in a start in Major League Baseball so far this season with yesterday, and that allowed him to go deep. I had no issue with them bringing him back out. A few reasons. One, he'd only thrown like 76, 77 pitches. He'd allowed one hit, and the one hit he allowed was on a pitch that wasn't even a strike. It was just a pretty impressive job of hitting by Yainer Diaz, the solo home run in the seventh. But I mean, the reason I bring him out is, yeah, he looked really good. Pitch count wasn't like maybe if it was 87, that's a different story. If it was 83, maybe it's a different story. I don't know. They also have all sorts of data that shows the quality of each pitch that allows them to get a sense of when guys are slowing down or not. So, obviously the data didn't suggest anything in that regard. Let's look at what actually happened. He gave up two blue hits. Very easily could have been outs. I mean, as a pitcher, you can't control where the ball is hit. You can just try and control whether or not there's contact and the quality of the contact. And he got weak contact. But the other thing is, not that they knew what was going to happen to Chris Martin, but I don't know that they knew exactly what the deal was with Luke Jackson. And they had used Robert Garcia. They had used Chris Martin the day before. I think they probably understood where their bullpen was at. And was like, hey, the guy's pitching great. He's only allowed one hit. That's the bottom of the order, right? It wasn't like he was going back through the heart of the order again. It was the bottom of the order. Let's let him have a go. And so sometimes those decisions work, sometimes they don't. Obviously, the end result of the game, wasn't favorable. And yeah, like I'm flipping pissed about it still, but I have no issue with the decision to bring Jack Leiter back out for an eighth inning.
So I think it was a game in Boston where cameras caught Jack Leiter talking to Eovaldi and DeGrom and just three buds on the railing, talking pitching, whatever. And Dave Raymond and Bassick were just talking about the importance of Jack Leiter getting to be around those two dudes on a daily basis. So a part of Leiter's uptick here, I mean, could you say some of it is related to who he's surrounded by right now?
Yeah, I think it's a combination. Yeah, that absolutely. I definitely think that he is better because of his time with those two. And I'm glad you brought up DeGrom as well, because Evaldi gets a ton of credit for the asset he is in the clubhouse, and it's pretty like above and beyond impressive. But Jacob DeGrom came here with this like shaky reputation because he didn't pander to the New York media. Uh, he's beloved in that clubhouse, and he is a great teammate. And it's actually been a total pleasure to be around him from my perspective. And I know his teammates adore him. So the two of those guys, yes. I also think Jack is open minded to that stuff, right? Like I think in order for you as a player to benefit from that, you got to be willing to listen. And Jack is maybe in some ways it could hurt him at times, but he's very analytical and very thoughtful. I think some guys are here's ball, throw ball, and I think that works for some of those guys. And I think other guys maybe can overthink. I think Jack probably is so good at like self-assessing that he even can recognize after the fact, you know what, I was overthinking there. Like talking pitching with Jack is really impressive. That one of the most enjoyable parts of my job is getting to talk baseball with these guys who play baseball at this like superior level, but also in some ways understand baseball in a way that's unique. And not every player does, right? Some players are just so gifted athletically. But Jack's a guy, as you can imagine, growing up in the Leiter household, he understands baseball and understands pitching. And I think that has played a huge role. I think mentally, what he went through last year at the major league level, like didn't phase him in the slightest. I think he is so prepared for the fact that baseball is hard and he is going to have, crappy starts, and it's not going to be perfect from the word go. And I think he is really good at understanding, hey, this is what happened last start. This is why it was good. This is why it wasn't good. And I'm going to work on it. And I think being open-minded to all that stuff is a huge part of any player's growth, but I think that's specific to Jack for sure.
I'm not trying to make this whole thing about him. He did just go yesterday, but it's interesting that because he's not thought of as a guy with like plus ace stuff or specifically velocity, right? So it's interesting because he's the former athlete's son, but he's almost having to get by on more of the mental side of it, which is usually not the case for the former athlete's son. Does that make sense? He's not.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry if I just it's just interesting to me that Jack Leiter is a guy who's he's the former athlete's son, but he's the guy who has to be like a crafty arm. He doesn't have really anything overpowering. I mean, I was reading guys with The Athletic before this year saying they didn't know if he had a major league future because he didn't have an out pitch. Like that he for sure was no longer an ace. So yeah, I just never thought of him as like the crafty pitcher.
Well, and I mean, listen, I think he's the hardest thrower on the team, just because, DeGrom is, maybe not pumping it 100 as much as he could, but I don't know that I would say like, I think he's crafty. I think he wins on the mound between the ears, but it's not like he doesn't have good stuff. I mean, he's got a really good fastball that plays well in the zone or plays well up in the zone. And he's got a slider that I think will only continue to get better. Like I think he's going through a lot of the progression that young pitchers go through. And remember, this is his first full year in the big leagues. Last year, he got a taste of the big leagues, but it wasn't until the end of the year when he got like any kind of consistent run. It was, hey, we're calling you up. You make the start. We're sending you down. Oh, hey, we're calling you up to pitch the first game of a doubleheader. And then we're sending you down. Oh, we're calling you up in this, last second because this guy got hurt. So, this is his first real opportunity to have runway, to pitch, to assess, to work, to do it again, to pitch, to work, So I do think that intellectually he is allowing himself to make up for the fact that he's dealing with some of the inconsistencies from like a physical standpoint, the consistency of his slider and understanding like the Boston start. He talked about how he was trying to be too fine with 2 strikes. And when you're, in a 2-strike advantage count, you've got the guy on his heels. You don't need to be perfect in those spots. And I think he's learning a lot of this stuff. I think he's trying to figure out, on a start, all right, when my slider's not good enough, what do I do? Whereas in AAA, even in AAA, your slider might not be good enough, but guys are going to swing and miss at it, but not at the big league level. So I do think that as he gets more experience, you're going to see more like good stuff. But I think that, for right now, what he's got between the ears is helping him tremendously. And, the no major league future thing is odd. I understand why people maybe were like, hey, I think he's more of a reliever, but I just don't see that. The way he's improved his changeup, adding the running fastball, which plays really nicely with his four-seam fastball. I think he has demonstrated, if nothing else, he's a starting pitcher. Now, he might not be an ace, but maybe he's a number 2. Maybe he's a really good number 3. I don't know, but he's definitely a starting pitcher as long as he can stay healthy. And he does have good stuff that can play well. It's just trying to develop a little more consistency with it.